Welcome students in the another session of Principles of Inheritance and Variations Part 2. Now in this video we will learn more different types of crosses. In the first we have learned monohybrid cross. In this we are going to learn back cross, test cross. We are also going to learn about dihybrid cross, monohybrid cross and so on. Let's begin with the back cross and the test cross. The cross between a hybrid and any parent is known as back cross. Back, that means back one, right? So either the recessive or the male or the female or any kind of parent if you are taking, and the progeny is hybridate with that cross is known as back cross. Another one is test cross. As the name indicates, it's a test. It is being used to identify the unknown phenotype, unknown progeny, to know about its genotype. Crossing of an organism with a dominant phenotype. Now here, the condition is crossing with a dominant phenotype with a recessive individual. So here, the recessive individual only has to be taken and the other one is dominant phenotype as well. So let's see, let's learn about the test cross and back crosses. The test cross is used to find out the unknown genotype of the character. Here's one example given. Let us say there is one plant dominant phenotype who's having the dominant phenotype, that is purple in color, but the genotype is unknown, so we have to identify. So let's say maybe what if the genotype is both the capital WT, capital WT, sorry, not WT, capital W and capital W, or let's say it is heterozygous, that is capital W and small w, right? So what we have to take in a test cross always choose the dominant phenotype. Always dominant phenotype is choose. Is crossed either, it's always crossed, remember, it is always crossed with homozygous recessive. So what will be the answer if we perform the cross between, let's say, there are purple flower and white flower. Purple flower, let me use the same color. Purple flower, right? And white flower, all right? We have this, the white flower is recessive and purple one is the dominant. We have to perform the test cross. Test cross of unknown flower which is purple in color. So the chances are there that might be the genotype would be W and W, capital W, or capital W and small w. Now, let's see, during this test cross, we always have to select recessive only. So, if in first case, the genotype of unknown is WT and we always select the recessive one. So when this is crossed, we will get the result always, that is capital W and small w, right? So in the result, all four will be purple in color. So from here we can conclude that the given flower is having homozygous genotype. In another case, if the plant is heterozygous, when such plant is crossed with homozygous recessive, then the gametes will be like this. When such kind of gametes are crossed with each other, then the result that we will get will be different. Let's say how the results are different. The ratio of recessive and dominant in this case will be 50%. So half of the plants will have purple color flower and half will have white color flower, right? So through a test cross, one can identify the unknown genotype of the plant, right? If all are purple in color, that means the unknown is having homozygous, whereas if 50% are purple and 50% are white, that indicates that the genotype is heterozygous in nature. So that was it. When did the Mendel use this test cross? Mendel used this test cross to determine the F2 genotype. F2 genotypes, to know the genotype of the F2, Mendel has used test cross method. Now we will learn about the first law, the one that we have discussed in detail in the video 1. In this video, we will learn about the first law, the statements and the facts about it. The law of dominant is the first law, which indicates the transformation of, which gives us the concept of dominance. Characters are controlled by discrete unit, which is known as factors. Factors are always present in pairs. In a dissimilar pair of factors, one member of pair that is dominant is the other one, right? So in a pair, one is dominant, another one is recessive. We have already learned about the facts, why they are dominant, why they are recessive in nature. Second law is law of segregation. Law of segregation states during gamete formation, the factors that are alleles of a character pair present in parents segregate from each other such that a gamete receive only one of the two factors. Such is known as law of segregation. On your screen, you can see that T and T separates and give rise to capital T and capital T. Homozygous parent produces similar gametes. Here you can see these two are the homozygous. So gametes are same. Homozygous always produces the similar gametes, whereas heterozygous produces two kinds of gametes, each having one allele with equal proportion. Now we will move ahead with dihybrid cross that will give us third law of inheritance that states the independent assortment. Let us begin. In monohybrid, it is similar, only here we will be talking about two pair of contrasting character. Instead, in mono, it was one. So here, two pairs of contrasting characters we are going to discuss. Example is the same in NCERT, that is given. Cross between pea plant with round shape and yellow colored, and the other one is wrinkle shape and green seed. So the genes you can see capital R, capital R, capital Y is for the dominant, small r, small r, small y is the recessive. So yellow and brown character is the dominant one, whereas wrinkle and green is the recessive character. Parent with homozygous round yellow, the genotype is capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Homozygous wrinkle green, the ratio genotype is capital R, small r, small r, small y, small y. The gametes, as it was stated ahead, that whenever if the parent is homozygous, will always give same gametes. There is no variation in the gametes, so all the gametes will be capital R and capital Y. Same with the homozygous recessive. In the F1 generation, we will have heterozygous dominant phenotype. Dominant is what? Yeah, round and yellow. When the self-cross was done between heterozygous round and yellow, the gametes that are formed are capital R, capital Y, capital R, small r, capital Y, small r, capital, small y. If you remember the law of segregation, how does these form? Let's say these are the two chromosomes. This is one pair of chromosomes that has R, and yellow genes, right? So what are the chances during the time of segregation? There are the chances that maybe the gene will separate like this, right? In this case, we will have R, Y, right? But what if the separation is like this? Then in this case, the chances are there that capital R may go with small y, and small r may go with capital Y. So that's why the gametes formation, the gamete that will be formed are capital R with capital Y, capital R with small y, small r with small y, and small r with capital Y. That's why there are total 4 gametes in both the sides. F2 generation, the Punnett square is quite large comparing to the monohybrid and dihybrid, because here total 16 boxes are there, 16 progenies will be formed. The method is similar. We have to arrange gametes in both the sides, and at the end, by crossing it, we'll have 16 different kinds of progenies. Here on your screen, you can see a Punnett square, which has been used with different color boxes. Wherever you'll find the round and yellow, the box is yellow in color. Green and round, the box is green in color. Whereas wrinkle yellow is having pale yellow in color, and the wrinkle green is having pale green in color. So if we count the number of progeny, round and yellow, phenotypic and genotypic, the ratio that we will get is different. The ratio on observing F2, Mendel found that yellow and green color segregation is 3:1 ratio. Round and wrinkle seed shape have segregated 3:1 ratio. Is the same with the monohybrid. This ratio is same with the monohybrid. Let's see. If we compare the phenotypic ratio, then there are around total 9 which are round and yellow. Here the label is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. 3 are round with green. That is here 1, 2 and 3. The remaining 3 are wrinkle and yellow. Here is given wrinkle and yellow. Only one is wrinkle green, which is this. As in video 1, I told you in any Punnett square, if you observe it, the first and the last is always a parent genotype and phenotype. Here also it's the same. The first one is pure breed, the one that we are taking in F1 generation. The first one is capital R, capital Y, capital Y, and the last one you can see it's here small r, small y, and small y. These both are the genotype of the parent that was used before the cross pollination. This ratio can be derived as a combination of series of 3 yellow, 1 green, and 3 round, 1 wrinkle. So what is the ratio? The ratio of dihybrid phenotype is 9:3:3:1. What was the ratio of monohybrid? Monohybrid ratio was 3:1. Here also it is same. Only the thing is we are using two characteristics. If we denote with the first characteristic, round and wrinkle, the ratio is 3:1. Yellow and green, the ratio is 3:1. Then both are multiplied. And finally, we are getting the result that is 9:3:3:1. So these are the ratios that we have to remember with us. And what about the genotypic ratio? Genotypic ratio is 1 is R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. 2, 1:2:1:2, 4:2:1:1. This is what the genotypic ratio of dihybrid cross. So from dihybrid cross, we come to the conclusion of law of independent assortment. What is law of independent assortment? It is based on the results of dihybrid cross. It states that when more than one pair of characters are involved in a cross, factor pairs independently segregate from the other pair of character. Here, if you observe in this Punnett square, it is not necessary that every time round is bounded with yellow, or if the seed is wrinkled, then it is green. No. The genes, two genes are not dependent on each other. They are independent on each other for their own function. So segregation of factors pair. Let's see. On your screen, you can see that figure possibility 1 and possibility 2. As I have explained you in this video only, that in possibility 1, chances are there that this capital A may go with small b, right? Here it's written factor 1 and factor 2. Clear? So it's not mandatory that one gene A is connected to capital B. No. Capital A can go with capital B or can go with capital C or small b. Whereas on the other hand, small a can go with capital B or small b. They are independently segregated. So these are the three laws. Number 1 was law of segregation. Number 2 was law of dominance. Number 3 is law of independent assortment. Now let us learn about the concept of dominance, why the genes are dominant. As we had discussed in video 1, that it depends on the product, that is protein, that have been produced by the genes. Every gene contains information to express a particular trait. Trait is a character. In heterozygotes, there are two types of alleles. In heterozygotes, in the zygote, if the genes are heterozygous, that means that both the genes are different. There are two types of genes. The genes are unmodified genes, that are normal or functioning gene, and the other one is modified gene. What is unmodified gene? It is generally dominant and represents original phenotype, whereas modified is generally recessive. Here on your screen, you can see that a homozygous gene pair contains both the unmodified alleles. A heterozygous gene pair contains unmodified allele and one modified allele. Then there is a third one, that is homozygous gene pair, which contain modified allele and modified allele. So here it's a recessive, homozygous recessive, here is homozygous dominant. So what is dominant here? The normal gene, the unmodified gene. And what is recessive gene? It is modified gene which is not functioning properly. What is the actual function of it? Lastly, let's learn the concept of dominance. With an example, consider a gene that contains information for producing an enzyme. Right? We are considering a gene that is responsible for the production of an enzyme and how it is functioning. Normal allele, that means a normal gene of that gene produce a normal enzyme. Modified will produce. Now in case of normal, the gene is going to produce normal enzymes, right? There won't be any other option. But in case of modified, the gene may produce normal or less efficient enzyme or non-functional enzyme or no enzyme at all. So there are three conditions in which the modified, that is recessive gene, is functioning. In first one, normal or the less efficient enzyme, if the modified gene is producing this normal or the less efficient enzyme, then in this case, modified allele will produce same phenotype like unmodified allele. Thus, modified allele is equivalent to unmodified allele. So, there won't be any further change in it. In second case, non-functional enzyme. This case, non-functional or no enzyme at all. In these cases, the phenotype will depend only on the functioning of unmodified gene. So, if the gene is there and that gene is producing non-functional enzyme, or the gene is not producing any kind of enzyme, then in these cases, a phenotype will depend only on the unmodified, that means dominant gene. Thus, the modified allele becomes recessive in nature. Case 1, let's see. Case 1 and case 2. Here, in case 1, unmodified allele is producing an enzyme. Whereas, on the other hand, modified allele is producing non-functional enzyme. So in this case, modified allele is not at all functioning. In case 3, the unmodified allele will produce the enzyme as it does, whereas modified allele is not producing any enzyme. So the organism is totally dependent on unmodified and allele, that is dominant one. This is how the dominant gene, this is why the certain genes are dominant in nature because of their functionality. If the gene is not functioning properly, then that gene will be categorized as recessive gene and the other gene is called dominant gene. So we have learned in this video about back cross, test cross, all the three laws and the concept of dominance. Thanks for watching.